We go. And we are on. Okay, stand by. Here we, oops, better. Okay. Hey, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Lonesome Cowboy podcast. And this lady is anything but lonesome, that's for sure. Coming to us from the East Coast is none other than Terra Spencer. Tara, how are you?
Hello. I was just trying to think, do I qualify as a cowboy then?
Yeah,
Uh,
really. We're all cowboys. So here's where I got to start, Tara, because
Okay.
you are the third mortician musician that I have interviewed in my career. Okay. There's a
Trend.
guy by the name of Dan O'Shea who has a big party band called My Son the Hurricane.
Yes.
He's a
Yes.
mortician.
Okay.
Hollow Sage and the 3 Mile Islanders.
Yes.
The lead singer, guy, he is a mortician. Both of
Oh my
them are
God.
from the Sioux, also.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to pay it forward.
Yeah,
I think there are at least two more that I
yeah.
know of.
There you
In
go.
fact, one street down from me, there's a drummer slash mortician.
So, okay, so I do have a question that goes with it. Like seriously, what's up with that? What's up with musicians and morticians?
Okay. Well, I can only speak personally, I guess, which is it was music actually that got me involved with the funeral home in the first
No.
place. Yeah.
Really?
So I hired on as the organist at the little village funeral home where I grew up. And I was the only kid in town who took piano lessons. So I was, ushered into the job. There wasn't a lot of competition. And I did that job for a while and then started working in the office. There was a staff of maybe four people at most. And yeah, and then it kind of grew from there very quickly,
Really?
escalated.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
That's crazy.
yeah, got my license and the rest is history.
Good stuff. Now, are you still practicing?
I still have my license.
Yeah.
I'm not around enough to be useful
Gotcha.
anymore.
This is
Which
one
is
thing
a good problem.
I never asked any of the other mortician musicians this one. Are there any skills that you've learned in that line of work that's come helpful for you in the musician kind of world?
100%. I think
Really?
one big one is just not to get rattled when things go off
Uh,
the rails,
that's a
because
good point.
I play by myself most of the time, so there's no safety net, if the piano kicks out or, guitar string breaks, or you just need to cover because stuff happens, power goes out. So you learn, because your job, the main one during funeral service, is to hold it together and
Correct.
keep everybody
That's nuts. Yeah.
calm and, keep the emotions in check because they run high in those moments. So
Yeah, right.
it's not, it doesn't feel that different. The clothing is a little
The
different.
clothing.
This is
Yeah.
why I don't wear black on stage because, that's my work clothes in that part.
Yeah, there
I
you
want some
go.
color.
Yeah, you did that for long enough, didn't you? Uh,
Yeah.
Tell me all about this latest album, Sunset, that just came out in September.
Well, your background's very fitting. Thank you for that.
Oh,
I would love to tell you whatever you want to know about this record. I will say, in short, that the inspiration for it happened in a hurry because there is slash was a studio in Halifax where I made a record during the pandemic that
okay.
I love called Sonic Temple. And I heard through the grapevine that it was closing its doors. And
Mm.
I always wanted to go back there and do something else. The engineer, Lil Thomas, is so sweet and taught me so much during that first experience. And I always wanted to work with him again. But when I heard the doors were closing, it's like, well, lads, I
Hmm.
rang up some of the best musicians I knew and booked studio time. And we banged out a record in less than 3 days. I think we had the studio for and stack of songbook, some of which are on the shelf behind me. And that was it, the old fashioned way, no rehearsal, no pre production. We just hammered it out together and then invited a whole heap of friends and heroes of mine to add some extra spice to it. And
Yeah, and you've had friend of ours, Stephen Fearing, has been on was on that record, wasn't he? Stephen's been on the show there just a little while
oh
ago.
my God, we could spend the rest of this podcast with me gushing about Stephen
I
Fearing.
could do
Like,
the same. I had a songwriting session with him and I could go the same way.
oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
He's a hero since I first was learning to play guitar when I was
yeah,
like 13 years old. I listened to his cassette back then, The Assassin's Apprentice, and listened so much that it stretched. And I had to keep tuning my guitar down to match it because all the songs got slower. Yeah.
I love
So
it.
that
Yeah,
moment on this record breaks my heart. Like it's my
yeah,
teenage dream come true.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And now let me ask you this when it comes to, and I'm probably asking because it's something I've thought about when I make my own albums. Do you
Mm.
go, hey, I got a bunch of songs, let's make an album? Or do you say, I want to make an album and I got to write a bunch of songs to fit this album? Which are your methods for making an album?
Oh gosh. I mean, I had a pretty healthy supply of songs crop up over the past 6 or 7 years that I've been writing.
Sure.
And so I think it really was, I kind of like concept albums, even if, as a nerd, only you're the one who gets the concept behind them. But they are strung together for a reason, even if it's only in my mind. So in that case, going into the studio, there were one or two songs. The one with Steven just uh, came up, one night as I was getting ready to go into the studio, and
Sure.
it was written in a hurry, and I knew it was the one I wanted him to sing. So, but I am never one to book, album time and then start writing. That's insane to me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I go in pretty stacked, and then I like to have some maybe that get left behind or they'll live another life somewhere else.
I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about a certain song on that, and I thought I wrote it down, and this is just my old man brain failing me once again.
20 years in.
20 years in. Is that
Yeah.
autobiographical, Tara? Because I looked at the graphic
Yeah.
and I went, that looks like Tara. So is
I
it?
thought you said the song was graphic for a
No, no,
second.
autobiographical. I'm sorry. Let's
Like,
not give the
wow,
that's not that kind of album, people.
what version did Dave Gunning put together? God. No, that song is absolutely to the letter autobiographical. I wrote it on the day of my 20th anniversary because I had a show that night and my husband was coming to it. And I will say songs are very cheap gifts. So, yeah, wrote it that day, played it that night in a kind of scrappy form. And then it took I've given away some dates here, but it took 5 years before that song was on a record. So now we're in year 25 together.
You've been married for 25 years?
I've done. Yep. Yeah.
Hey,
I got the hardware to show
you
it.
don't look like you should be that old at all.
Oh God, you should see him. He's a
That's
wreck.
what my wife says. Oh, you should see him. So Tara, I'm this one of the focuses of this podcast is about DIY musicians. Now
Mhm.
you're not 100% DIY. You have a little bit of help. You have a booking agent, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I mean still everything else is on your plate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always say it's me and the
So
dog.
yeah, exactly. Now, would you give it all up if a label came up to you and said, "Here you go, Tara," or would you still want to just say, "No, no, I like my control that I've built over these last few albums here."
Oh, well, I'll tell you a story about that. The one time that I had a label offer on the table,
Nice.
I kind of panicked because it had been drafted up. There's one lawyer here on the East Coast that is kind of the go-to lawyer who's on all the panels at conferences, and
Yep.
unfortunately, like he would have been a great guy to take this contract to for review, but unfortunately, he's the one who wrote it. So
Ouch.
I was kind of out of luck there. And had a meeting where it was sort of on the line, it was decision time. And I, in a hurry, downloaded some books about label agreements and read them like speed reading.
Good for you. Wow.
And ended up turning that contract down and then had no regrets about it afterward. But
Awesome.
I didn't want to be an only child in this. And, having a booking agent is a huge asset as I start
Hmm.
to outside of the East Coast and get farther away from home. They're great, Ryan and Jennifer, and I book shows. And beyond that, though, like I have a lot of help, but I don't have a big team. People are very kind with their advice and anecdotes and, don't learn from my mistakes kind of thing.
Sure.
And that's been lovely to learn about this community.
Yeah.
People are even mentors, people I've admired for years, creatively are willing to partner up and sing on a song or write together. But on the business side too, it kind of does take a village, even if it all happens in Facebook DMs. We compare
Gotcha.
notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Um, well, I mean, that's the big thing they say all the time is get your team on it. And I'm going,
Yeah,
and I look around the room like this and I go, what team?
yeah, yeah,
I've been at it 3 or 4 years now. I got nothing, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
So what do you do when like let's say that maybe some advice that you would give to a musician that doesn't have a team and is putting out an album and says,
Oh my
Daryl,
gosh.
what do I do?
It's really hard. And I've approached it in a few different ways. The first record I put out, I had no clue what I was doing. It just kind of, ta-da!
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I
I
hear
had
you.
no idea how to do it. So, it was kind of fun back then because I didn't know what I was missing or didn't know what you don't know what mistakes you're making if you don't
Sure.
know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Learned a lot over the next few years, and there have been times when, through some funding that I applied for, I was able to get some help with marketing, say
Oh,
from
that's
a
cool.
publicist, and had that experience. And then there are times like this last record was self-funded, and I didn't hire PR or marketing folks, just kind of relied on the contacts I'd made over the years
Hmm.
and prayed that it would be enough. But oh my gosh, it is a lot of work when, you're booking a release tour and doing the tour basically at the same time as the record is coming out. And it's easy to wonder if you did it justice, especially because this record has so many, performers, musicians I love. I didn't want to let the record down.
I hear you.
And
Yeah.
to know it's always hard. The hardest thing is knowing when you've done enough in a day because there's no boss to say, there you go, clock out, have a great night.
Yeah, that's about
You
it.
can't do that to your own brain.
Yeah, that's about it. You
Yeah,
also you're another example of a musician that taps different various streams, we'll say for income and that, and you do workshops and
I do.
they're just songwriting stuff, right? Is that all you do or is there other
For
stuff
the
that you're
most
doing?
part.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah, for the most part, it's songwriting. That came about in kind of an accidental way. I mean, I am more passionate about the songwriting side than any other aspect. That's the fire, the
I
fuel
hear
for
you.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
These workshops, whatever shape they take, oh man, I love it. I help, people crack the code if there's a song that's stalled or,
Yeah.
the page phenomenon. I get so pumped about those.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
go ahead and take a moment and tell the folks about what you offer.
sure. So especially during the pandemic, I started doing one-on-one workshops online. A few local folks that we've met in person and done them, but really it's just your dedicated focus time to bring work in progress to the table. I know sometimes our own families and friends are really quick and they're beautiful and just saying, yeah, this sounds great. I love it. It sounds great. But when you know yourself that there's something just not there about a song or it's not coming across the way you want, or you can't finish it, then it's not a co-write with me, but we just work through and try and unlock what's the hang up with your song or what direction it could go in instead.
Yeah.
Or even starting from scratch, it's talking to people and finding out what their stories are and then figuring out how it might have a life as a song. Um,
Hmm.
there are people who have never written a song before. There are folks of all ages. And then I've worked with groups, classrooms, community groups, at-risk youth. Like it's taken on a lot of
Yeah.
shapes. And
That's cool. You're touching a lot of people. And
well, it's
yeah.
exciting for
And
me.
and there's a lot to be said for songwriting because that, that can do, I mean, did me a lot of good, you know what I mean?
For
So,
sure.
yeah, it's yeah, so that's a good thing. I think teaching folks whether they take it anywhere or not is not the issue, right?
No, it doesn't have to have a life. There are folks who do go on and record their songs and release them or make an album. I have one person who's now working on her second record
Good
and
stuff.
playing shows and doing all this,
Yeah.
making merch. But hi, Karen. But for other folks, it's maybe just one song that they want to give as a gift to
That's
someone in
cool.
their family
Very
that,
cool.
are things they couldn't figure out how to say otherwise.
Yeah,
I could talk.
exactly. Oh yeah, I hear you. Well, I'm actually contemplating it going, maybe I'll take one of Tara's workshops because my biggest issue is melody.
Ah,
Where do you start?
oh man. Well,
And
I'm
that's
gonna
my
take.
biggest issue. And that's I mean, I've seen a lot of videos that have given me a couple of pointers, but I'm
Yeah.
starting to write songs going, "Eh," starting to hear that again, you know what I mean? And so when I do that, I just put it away. And then I wait to come back another day.
I'll
So,
take this chance to say the name David Francey. Then.
yes, I've saw that name associated with your album. Yes.
Oh gosh, associated with my life. I've loved David's music for half my life now.
Nice.
And he's just one of the best songwriters Canada's ever had. But what I love about David's story is not just the fact that he started later in life,
Yeah.
which is relatable, but he for most of his songs, he doesn't play an instrument. That's not how he writes. It's all melody for him. And
Really?
then you pair up with a guitar player or other
Huh.
musicians to flesh out the chords and arrangement, but it's all melody driven. So, for him, it's going for a walk and
Yeah.
turning words over, and it's
Yeah.
all voice for him.
I interviewed Sylvia Tyson and see she said she doesn't write it down either. She walks and sings it, and
Yeah.
her attitude is if she doesn't remember when she gets back, it wasn't worth keeping.
Oh, now that's
How's that?
the risk that I don't
Ain't it?
think I'm willing to take.
I don't like it either. Neither do I. No,
I have one
I'm not keen
song.
on that at all, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the greatest for me whatsoever. But
No,
yeah, yeah,
my
great.
phone is the greatest tool I have.
Yeah, there you go. Tara, COVID, of course, really kicked the crap out of our business.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, like, what's the biggest change in the shows that you like comparison? Maybe you played the same place before COVID and you played it after COVID. What's the biggest difference?
Oh, well,
What's the vibe, I guess?
COVID was a weird point for me because 2019 is really when I felt like I was starting to figure out what I was doing.
Okay.
I played my first solo show in 2018 and was learning the ropes then of, even just learning the lyrics and, figuring out how to set up a PA and
You're supposed to learn the lyrics?
yeah, I
Nobody
know,
told
work
me.
in progress. Um, Yeah, no shade. If you need words on stage, take them for God's sake. Don't
Yeah,
let any
really.
song boss you around.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2019, I went on my first big tour and that kind of planted the seeds. I thought, okay, I'll follow in these footsteps. And I played, a few festivals and was getting really excited about the year ahead. And
Yeah.
then everything changed and
You
suddenly,
didn't get a chance to make a comparison, did you?
not really. There was no normal ever.
Yeah, you never had a
A
chance to
new
experience
normal.
normal. Isn't that
No, I
something?
didn't. So, what I hear though from venues is that it's still a challenge. People, especially folks, don't want to commit and actually buy a ticket till way late in the game, which is really stressful when you're on tour and you don't know whether to cancel the show or not. And
I know. Yeah.
night's a full house, and the next night is seven people.
You see, I always thought you guys all had like big, great shows and everything was full and the whole deal. And now when I interview you and I hear, yeah, I played to seven people, I went, oh, good. I don't feel so bad.
No, nobody should. I mean, there are maybe folks who, have a big enough team that they pull the plug really early, so you
Yeah,
never even
really.
make it there. But no, in this DIY scenario, that's 100% part of reality. And
Yeah,
there's uh, I'm going to tell you a little sneaky thing, okay?
go for it.
So if you see a photo of someone's show the night after, and this isn't a hard and fast thing, but it's a secret, and the photo is way up close and you just see them, there might not have been that many people there. And if the photo is way back here and you see all these heads in the crowd, it was a good night.
Oh, that is never going to leave my brain. Never.
It's such,
I
I
am
regret
never going
saying
to
that
be able.
right
Yeah.
now.
All right, artists, you've been put on notice. Tara and I are watching. We're gonna
I'm
do
sorry,
like all the people
everyone.
that get it, like the people that dress really nice and then say, "Can I borrow you? Guess I go inside your private jet for a minute and then take a picture and then they look like they got the lifestyle, right?"
I'm so sorry.
Ta-da! That may not
Yes,
always be true, right? Or, no, we
it
won't.
isn't always true.
No.
It isn't always true, but what I mean to say is that every artist that I've talked to, it's kind of a crapshoot. And somewhere, probably across the border, they play a show that is just one of those nights where it's a paid practice kind of thing. And you maybe get supper and a bed.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
happens. Don't beat
yeah.
yourself up about it.
I did a gig in Sudbury one time, and the venue didn't understand the difference between pay what you can and um, uh, uh, playing for tips.
Oh my gosh.
No one was on the door, so I walked away with $20.
Look, I talked to a friend last night where the venue put out a tip jar, and everybody was
Yeah.
in their share, $20, it was going great. And the venue took the tip jar at the end of the night, didn't give it to the musicians.
Oh, there'd have been a fight there.
Oh, listen, it's rough. Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. If you're a control freak, get out of this.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Venues, come on, venues, let's do better, right? Let's do
Oh,
better.
most of them do. Most of them do.
Yeah, they true. That's very true. So, speaking of all this stress that we are under, yes, but it's a good stress, right? It's a good stress. If I'm
We
going to be
chose
stressed,
this.
yeah, if I'm going to be stressed about something, I'd rather be stressed about my music career than about the fact that, my boss is an idiot or something like that, right?
You asked me about lessons from the funeral home.
That's it.
That's a lesson. This is not the worst day that anyone's had.
There you go. So, do you find, and even maybe with some of your workshops that you take, imposter syndrome, is that run? Do you even have it? Because I suffer from it. I had it yesterday, something fierce.
Are you kidding me? It is like the bread and butter.
Of all your waking nightmares.
Yeah, genuinely true. Because, too, like I have felt like an imposter from the get-go because I feel like I waltzed into this thing. I didn't have the years and years of filling in bar gigs and cutting my teeth,
Uh,
toughing it out in rooms like this. I felt like I got the golden ticket and just got to shortcut into most nights having a good night and
oh, there are going to be a lot
being
of
able to
jelly
work.
girls out there. Look out.
Yeah, well, and fair enough, because I didn't I wasn't on the ropes there for all those years. So yeah, it's a legitimate thing. And of course, social media. Every day we see everyone's best moments and their highlights and big plans, and it's tough behind the small screen every day to
Hmm hmm
Keep your head on straight with that.
So here's a very good impromptu question that comes off of the imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
And I try to make my social media authentic. I
Mm.
won't say, you know, like you said, the trick, right? Okay.
I'm so sorry. Regret.
That's okay. No, you, hey, not everybody. It's just, we're just having a laugh here. Anyways,
No.
that's
No.
right. But, where was I? Um, Yeah, I mean, I understand that completely because I try to do my postings to be authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I don't say, "Wow, what a great gig I had." I says, "Well, I said I think I played very well." I says, "I wish there was more people there to see me," kind of thing. And I'm honest about it in that respect. And
Yeah.
somebody told me that I should shut my mouth about it.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, they said, "Yeah, don't talk about how there's not anybody there." And I went, "Oh,
Well,
okay, okay."
you know what? I think it's tone there. If you sound bitter
Yeah,
all the time, that does turn folks off,
yeah, it does. Yeah,
um, especially folks who weren't able to book that gig in the first place. You know, you know, they didn't make that $20 in the tip jar that night, right?
yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, good point,
So I
Tara.
think there is, you got to squeeze out your gratitude whatever way you can.
Good words.
And if those 7 people were there that night and they actually listened to what you were doing, that audience of 7 is 7 times more than a lot of folks have.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I agree.
so in that case, you don't have to be though over the top about it.
I think maybe I had been in the past because I was just purely dejected.
Yeah, and that's fair,
Yeah,
and it's okay to admit that this is tough.
yeah,
But I think it's probably best to lean on the shoulders of each other in the community than put it on the shoulders of
yeah.
the audience, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, well said. Well said. Tara, tell everybody what's going on for 2025 for you.
Oh, 2025. Well,
I,
if the
I
creek
started
don't
to see
rise,
some dates in there.
yeah, there are some things I've kind of been keeping under wraps that will come out pretty soon. This
Cool.
first half of the year will be busy with a little luck. I will play my first run of shows in the US, see how things are going down there.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah, which will
You
be
get to
fun.
you get to
Um,
pony up for all those P2 visas.
Honestly, that is a different conversation that,
Uh-huh.
again, we don't need to make that everyone's problem here,
That's
but
true,
we can
yes.
certainly keep talking after. Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, we chose this.
that's true.
Um, yeah, maybe a little reunion with my dear friend David Francey.
Ah,
Um,
there you go.
yeah, a lot of writing is what's happening right now, and looking ahead to the next project and trying to be patient about that. But really, my main focus right now will be to keep collaborating with people and try and give this record the life that I hope it can have. And keep the
Girl.
sunset going a little longer.
Good stuff.
Get started.
Excellent. Stick around at the end. I'm going to see what I can talk to you about your 2025 stuff here.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Now, Tara, tell the folks where they can find more about you and your music and where your socials and all that fun stuff.
Oh, great. Well, I have polluted the internet with myself. So my website is www.terraspencer.ca, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and oh, you know what? Still on Twitter against my better judgment, and the blue sky. Yeah, I'll be in there and
Yeah.
doing the stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
if you got Blue Sky, get rid of Twitter. You'll be happier. Or
Yes.
X or whatever they're calling it.
I know. I
Um,
just stayed there because Ron Sexsmith was there, but now he's jumped over, so it's okay.
there you go. All right, folks. Tara Spencer, thank you so much for coming on the program. I much appreciate it. Your music is well, like I said, when I was in the same room with you when you were at FMO, oh my God, that's Tara Spencer. So you see how
Well,
some must have we look at you like going, oh, I don't, you're not just a musician. You're wow, you know what I mean? So there you go. She's
Yeah.
fantastic, folks. You got to look her up. She had a great showcase at the FMO in August, and I hope that all worked out for you too. And
Um,
yeah, so we'll definitely be talking to you soon.
cheers. Thank you, Brian. Thanks,
Thank
folks.
you.